Hello, Smart Community friends. Welcome back to another bonus episode of the Smart Community Podcast, sharing various guest answers to the question, where to next for smart cities and communities? And this time I'm sharing with you the answers from these guests. Warren Dean from episode 196, Sandra Phillips from episode 219, Oliver Locke from 222, Priscilla Radice from 220, Chad Ramage from episode 221, Elisa Choy from 224, and Bratton Riley from episode 225. Some themes that come through in the guest answers are around data, trust in government, and community engagement. Getting accurate, up-to-date data that also protects privacy and safety continues to be a core factor in many aspects of smart communities, from better resource management to decision-making to the ability to collaborate and integrate across disciplines, sectors, and industries. And all of these things, including the communication of data protocols and decisions, continue to be factors that impact trust in government and community engagement as a whole. As Elisa Choy says, there's no shortage of passion and intent. You just need to arm yourself with the right data and then communicate in a way that people actually care. Those guests again, Warren Dean, Sandra Phillips, Oliver Locke, Priscilla Radice, Chad Ramage, Elisa Choy, and Bratton Riley. As always, we hope you enjoy listening to this episode as much as we enjoyed making it.
Welcome to the smart community, smart regions, smart towns, and smart cities. It's where we live, work, and play. With smart communities, the future starts today. Big data, smart mobility, emerging trends galore. The Smart Community Podcast is what you're looking for.
Where to next for smart communities?
Where to next? I was talking to someone the other day about open areas. So they had an issue where they wanted to measure, how many people are using a reserve. And I suppose this is a technology that I'd like to see improved. Maybe there's someone out there that knows of technology, but we always had issues knowing how many people were there. So our libraries had sensors that were radars that would sense, the difference between that's an adult and that's a child based on height. But if that child ran in and out through the sensors 15 times, we're counting them 15 times. Then we had, mobile phone technologies that was counting the mobile phone, and that gave us a unique count of people coming into the facility, but we didn't know the demographics. We didn't know if they were children, if they're adults. We could at least tell if it was a unique device. But I think there's a big push. I'd like to see push in, open reserves. How many people are using a park? The sensors, I don't know if they're there, that can sense, a big enough area and sense how many people are using a park that we could then prioritize, which parks are used the most? How often do I need to clean a park? Which park would I invest, my capital works budget in improving based on how many people are using it? I know they do, surveys and things like that, but I haven't really seen, and we never really had a technology that really understood how many people were coming to these large open areas.
Yeah, and I guess understanding a little bit of the demographics, obviously with privacy instilled when we at the get-go and designed in, but yeah, understanding, should we invest in a playground at this park, or is it better to, have a barbecue area or something like that? I don't know.
And what time of the day do people come? Or if I'm going to run a council event, what time should I be down there? Yeah, I think there's heaps of opportunities for that.
So many use cases, yeah. Where to next for smart communities?
I think, I keep repeating myself, we talked about this, but I'm going to give 3 very concrete examples. So collaboration. But to make that work, there's actually 3 things that need to change. And the first one is procurement. Public procurement systems are really challenging to pilot innovative solutions. So you need to figure out how to change that. So that's one. The second one is, I kind of alluded to that, policy frameworks have to be, especially in transportation and in my field, we have to stop thinking about operational details of where the vehicles have to be parked and think about bigger picture, what's the community's goal? greenhouse gas reduction emissions, equity, whatever it is, tie it to that and measure that. And then the third one is the intermunicipal approaches. So we talked about, we actually didn't talk about this. How do you, like, if you have a bunch of communities next to each other, you can't have a solution in one city and then a different type of policies in another one. So how do you work that out? I think that's the other piece where really we have to put more focus on. So yeah, that's kind of next for me on the smart community side.
So where to next for smart communities?
So I think that smart communities, I think it would be great if we're more connected to all the decisions that are made around us. I once saw some research that was done, I think, in Tel Aviv, which was this idea of creating a kind of citizen identity card, and you say what issues you care about in your local area. And then when something new about that particular issue or idea, be it, like biodiversity or entertainment or transport or cycling, you'll get like a notification about some kind of change that's happening in your area, and then you're able to give feedback. And I love the idea of people being able to give feedback if they want some detailed approach, or even just feel comfortable and trusting their government enough to click a button and say, like, give them my data about this or something like that, so that, so that we're actually, using data to help empower the things that we care about and give like a stronger evidence base to people that, are trying to make the best decisions for us. So I think that kind of connectedness and trust in the way that we use data will be really, really important, and a really idealistic way that maybe the future would look like.
Where to next for smart communities?
I think it's interesting for me being in this association space. It's quite new for me. And I see how many different people government need to engage with, and then how those engagement models work with industry and community. I think there is a real opportunity to change that. I'm not sure that either industry, community or government get the best outcomes right now because, what are the vested interests? Who's driving? How do we come together? What is that collaborative platform? I think we have to be conscious of centralisation and the benefits that can bring, the local, global, and how all of that comes together. But I think smart cities' biggest issue is that it is perceived to be a thing that sits on the side rather than the kind of glue and the webbing that can bring everything together.
Where to next for smart communities?
How do we get the data? So where to next, I think, is I think we need to go back and have a look at how the data is shared, what data is there, and currency. So I've been looking at some data with councils over the last few weeks, and it's great that there is data there in the open data portals, but it's now starting to get to 3 to 4 years old, when having open data and data policies was a really cool fad. And look at all this data, we're supporting innovation and entrepreneurs, but how much of that infrastructure has changed over the last 4 years? Has there been major changes that, like, car parks have changed, new bathrooms have been built, have areas been leveled out, kind of thing? And if it hasn't, then you would think that'd be a pretty quick win to revalidate, re-promote. This is 2021 data. If there has been a significant change, then what's the point of the 4-year-old data being rolled out? So I think the change needs to be currency. We need to see, I'm sure there's enough money kicking around for the smart communities and environments. I think we need to start going back and validating what's been done, like any other plan would be a 2 to 5 year plan. What are the cycles like on that data policy to go back and look at and revalidate?
Yeah, as I have been playing around with some council data portals and also state government as well, and even just trying to verify the standards that are required for that data as well is an interesting one. And I've just kind of started my little search. I did a bit last year with my master's, like looking at different data portals and things. And then, this year I should be diving into that more. But you're so right. Like, and also it's kind of like even as constructed drawings, when you they're supposed to be that's the most accurate or whatever. But if it's, a piece of paper in a filing cabinet somewhere, it's not digitized or, the data's not taken out of it, then what's the point?
And that may be a very quick answer question that someone might say, well, it is 5 years, so be quiet. You'll see it next year. But if that is the case too, then it would be great to have some communication around that.
So where to next for smart communities? In the data space, I suppose.
Having the opportunity to connect with the issues and testing them to understand, there are certain things that are higher priority than others because you want action, right? All of this is people, you've got no shortage of passion and intent. You just need to arm yourself with the right data, and then communicate it in a way that people actually care. That's your secret sauce to moving this along.
Yes, I totally agree. And I agree in the sense like passion, intent are great things, but you need the right information, you need the right tools, you need action, you need that to make shit happen, right? Where to next for smart communities?
Well, my hope is that, they'll spend a lot of time and energy around the relationship building communication side. And I think technology, where we can use technologies to really help with that. And I think, the number one issues that register with governments, local governments year in year is like, how do we better engage with our residents? And, there's all these mousetraps out there on how to do that. And, I think going back to what we were talking about, the user experience, think about it from the residents' perspective and investing in technology that can power conversations that can happen in a very respectful way 24/7 will be a way to really help move not only the conversation forward, but move the nuts and bolts of getting stuff done faster. And when you, as a resident, see that your government is working really hard to try to get the blocking and tackling, the nuts and bolts accomplished, then it is more likely that you're going to have more trust and confidence in that organization to take care of you. And I think there's a great opportunity to do better with that. And of course, I've got my own bias towards this category because this is what we've chosen to implement our technology in. But I think it's a very important component of it all. And I know that because it's, the top 3 issues every year with what cities say they need to do better, or counties or local governments in general.
Yeah, no, and I think it's so important. And I think it also goes to the telling of your story, like we're not promoting ourselves. It's even like for me, for local government, it's not promotion, it's telling the story and then also serving the residents by telling them what you're doing and what's available to them and, the great stuff that they're doing with, energy innovation or, even they're testing and trying these things, they're trying new ways of working because they want to serve you better. They want to serve the community better.
It's what I tell governments all the time is just like, you have animal services. And part of what the animal services does is it finds lost animals and it brings them back to their home. Get on camera the animal services professionals handing the dog back to the kid at the front doorstep of the home with his siblings and mom and dad behind him. That's the kind of work that local government does every day. And that's how there are so many beautiful stories to tell of, and that's just normal. That's the normal course of business for local government. But let's help you tell those stories better and make it easier for you to tell those stories because that's what you do every day. And it's part of what we want to help them do. More reasons to tell stories.
Are you looking for an engaging speaker, MC, or facilitator for your next big event? Then we've got you covered. Zoe is a go-to speaker, MC, and conversation facilitator with a difference. She's a master at simplifying the complex and making connections you might never see. Book Zoe for your next event. Email hello@mysmart.community or head over to her speaker page, www.mysmart.community/speaking.
Thanks so much for listening to the Smart Community Podcast. Show notes for this episode and all other episodes are available on our website, mysmart.community/podcast. If you have any questions for us or any of our guests, you can email hello@mysmart.community. You can also find us on the socials. We are on LinkedIn and Twitter at SmartCommHQ. That's com with 2 M's. If you are enjoying the podcast, please hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And we would love for you to leave us a rating and review at wherever you listen. This really helps us reach more ears and eyes, so thank you for your support. As always, we hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as we enjoyed making it.
The Smart Community Podcast is what you're looking for.